20 years is a long time for anything, for marriage, for being in school, 20 years. And come July 12th, 2025, that marks the 20th year that I have had my notary business here in North Alabama. I started reflecting on that this week because two things happened. Thing number one, received a call earlier this week from a young woman who needed her signature notarized on a document, just one form. Unfortunately, I had just left the area of town where she's located. And I told her that I'm like, hey, I'm on the highway. I won't be back in that area for several days. So I'm sorry I'm not able to help you. And then I asked her if she had any other numbers she could call for a notary. She said no. And she said this is the first time she's ever needed a notary and really didn't know where to look. And so I told her about how most of the main libraries in Alabama have notaries. I then told her about the UPS store and how most of, well, all of the UPS stores now in Alabama have notaries. I also let her know how my choice is always to go to the library because they only charge a couple dollars at best. And then I let her know what the UPS stores typically charge. So gave her that information. She was very appreciative. And she's like, yeah, I don't know anything about this. I'm like, yeah. And so then I went ahead and told her, make sure you have your ID. Don't sign anything before you get to the notary. And that was it. Didn't really think about that call until thing number two happened. I did book an appointment this week, met with a individual who's going through a divorce and scheduled it during my lunch to notarize signatures on their divorce papers. Um, the individual was about 10, 15 minutes late, didn't call. So I was about ready to pack up my notary bag and leave the meeting place when they arrived. So I'm like, okay, fine, we can get it done. Check their ID, no issues at all there. And then the individual brought out the documents. And I recognized these documents because, again, when you've been doing this for a while, I was like, okay, they downloaded it from such and such website. Now, I have my preferences. I prefer divorce documents that have been drawn up by a lawyer for a variety of, well, I'll just go ahead and say it. The notary certificate is, the way I like it. Typically, the lawyer has answered the questions that his client has. It's just less tedious. So at least the website that these documents were downloaded from is one of the better sites, in my opinion, as far as the documents and the notarial certificate is concerned. So it's like, okay. And so the individual's flipping through the forms, getting ready to sign. And two things caught my eyes. First thing was the instruction sheet. And when you've been in this business for a while, especially as a notary signing agent, I mean, we know instruction sheets. And yes, I can read upside down, especially when the section I'm reading is in great big bold font, use black ink. And of course, the signer had a blue pen in their hand. So I was like, hold up, hold up. The instructions say black ink only. They hadn't even though the instruction sheet was right on top, right in front of them, they didn't read it. So gave them a black pen. And then the second thing I noticed is that the documents were blank. They were preparing to sign divorce papers without filling them out in hopes that I would just stamp, sign, and then they could take the documents home and fill them out later. So again, remember, about 15 minutes late to the appointment, and I knew this was going to be an unsuccessful appointment. And so I stopped them. I said, listen, I said, as a notary, I'm not allowed to notarize your signature on blank documents. They must be completed. And then I followed up with, and I'm so sorry, I don't have time to wait while you fill them out. We will need to reschedule. They were very surprised, or appeared to be. And I'll admit I was annoyed. I'm like, waste of time. And I know some of you watching this are thinking, well, did you charge a travel fee, trip fee? No. And I'll get into that later. I don't want to explain now why I chose not to. But I will say this, it would not have made me feel any different. I'm serious. Even if they gave me $50, I was still annoyed. My time was wasted. Hear me out. So I was reflecting on these two events that seemed to be very different, but I noticed a similarity, a common thread, that both individuals had minimal understanding, both scenarios, minimal understanding or knowledge about the notarization process. And I was reminded that the only reason why I know as much as I know is because I'm a notary. I forget how many people have never needed a notary. In fact, the first time I needed my signature notarized, I was, I believe, in my mid to late 30s, maybe early 40s. I was living in San Jose, California, purchased a car at a dealership, and used my credit union to finance the car. And the credit union was in Portland, Maine. And I kid you not, five, six, five or six of those financing forms required notarization. They required my driver's license to be copy certified, and then all these other documents. But when I booked the appointment with the notary, California notary, by the way, because their fees, they got some nice fees. She didn't do the math for me, but I didn't ask what the fee was. All I knew, I needed my signature notarized. I had to, back then, where's it? Yeah, I think I used a phone book. This would have been 2003, maybe 2004. So I wasn't Googling then. I'm not saying Google wasn't around. I think it was, but I had to go to the phone book, the yellow pages, to find a notary. And when I got there, I watched her as she went through all of the documents. And then she looked at me and said it was going to be $50, $60. I was like, wait, what? For a notarization? I kid you not. I thought she was ripping me off. I thought I was being scammed. But it was so hard for me to find her. And I needed to get this done. It was time sensitive. My credit union was like, you got to get these back right away for us to send you the check for your car. So I had an attitude the whole time I was seated in front of that notary because I had convinced myself she had no business charging me that much money. In my mind, a notary would cost a few dollars, 10, $20. Back then, I believe in California, it was about $10 per notarial act. So she didn't overcharge me, but I didn't know that. And I had left there, hey, if Google business listings were up and running and I knew about it, I'm sure I would have hopped on there and left a very bad review, even though she didn't know she hadn't done anything wrong. And so, where I'm going with this is I need to be more understanding of the residents, the individuals, the customers, potential customers who call me with questions and needing notary services. I need to stop assuming they know what they need, they know what the fee is. I have been in this business so long that I'm starting to make assumptions of others and having unrealistic expectations. Yeah, this was a big aha moment for me. I need to remember as a public servant, I've got to educate, I've got to explain. I need to give the benefit of the doubt and forget for a few moments about it being a business. Yeah, me. I'm talking about me. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make some adjustments and work on my questions when I get these calls. And I mean, I'm not horrible. The young lady that I spoke to, she was very appreciative that I directed her to other sources. And I do that on a regular basis. I do. But I need to stop being surprised when someone demonstrates, either verbally or in their actions, that they don't know all the notary rules. They're calling because they need help. And chances are they won't need another notarization for another 5, 10, 15 years, perhaps. And so it's important that I make that moment as positive, informative, professional as possible. And that's what I wanted to share. And those of you who are newer notaries, I want to encourage you to start off your notary journey with that knowledge or with that understanding. Don't wait 20 years to figure that out. Make room, make time to educate, inform, refer, explain. They deserve it. They definitely need it and want it. With the knowledge we have, we should be able to anticipate their questions, some of their questions, anticipate what their needs will be. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do. Let me know if you're willing to join me. Thanks for listening.